The devil is busy because he knows his time is short. I'm Jessica Denson, and this is Lights On. Donald Trump is weak. He is a wannabe tyrant who is fading before our very eyes, and that is why he is so desperately trying to sabotage American democracy before he goes. Tomorrow, October 18th, millions and millions of people will flood the streets of this country to stand up against him, to demand that his illegal regime be removed from power, to say that he is not our king, let alone our rightful president. They are not afraid of his threats that we are terrorists when he, in fact, is an adjudicated insurrectionist and domestic terrorist himself. The American people are going to stand up and stand out in numbers that are too big to ignore tomorrow. And again, on November 22nd, when we do this in Washington, D.C. alone, and the American people are not standing for this anymore. And so while the people rise up against this authoritarian takedown of American democracy, they are desperately, desperately trying to take away our rights. Just in the last few days, there has been another extrajudicial, what is being called cold-blooded murder in the seas of the Caribbean, as Donald Trump has authorized the killing of at least now a total of 17 people on the high seas with no judicial process, no adjudication. He is claiming that these are drug smugglers, but that is not how justice works in the United States of America. We do not execute people on allegations. That is what this administration is doing. In the words of David Cole, a Georgetown law professor, he is getting away with murder. This is a man who we have discussed on this show many times is actively committing treason by trying to levy war against American cities, trying to pit the United States military against its very own citizens. I was listening to an interview with David Cole, and he talked about how authoritarian regimes will start by targeting the vulnerable. They will start by targeting immigrants acting overseas, but then inevitably they turn on their own people. That is the playbook. They start with those who don't seem to be cared for by everyone. They certainly should be, but they start with those so that some American citizens, those who are too comfortable and too complacent, think, oh, that's not going to touch me. I'm not affected by this. Be convinced, understand, you will be affected by this inevitably. It is coming for you too. And so that is why now is the time. Now is the time to be as fearless as ever. Now is the time to rise up and not let this fading, desperate dictator have his way, not let him get away with these repeated daily violations of the Constitution and the rule of law. Now is the time to demand that our elected representatives pursue impeachment and removal of this administration. On top of this, we have this man claiming to be a champion of peace, taking a victory lap for the time ceasefire in Gaza and the release of the Israeli hostages who should have been released long ago, and far too many of them perished while Donald Trump's fascist dictator friend Benjamin Netanyahu used October 7th as a cover for his own political corruption and crimes that were waiting adjudication when that happened. But Donald Trump is no peacemaker. He is somebody who wants war, who wants chaos, who is trying to bring that to this country, literally telling profuse lies come out of his mouth and the mouth of the members of his administration on a regular basis about quote unquote war-ravaged cities that do not exist, about Antifa, an organization that does not exist, that is literally shorthand for anti-fascism, which means anti-oppression, anti-nationalism, anti-xenophobia, anti-dictatorship. That is a good thing. If we are all anti-fascist, we are the furthest thing from terrorists that the world has ever seen. Once again, Donald Trump is the domestic terrorist and the adjudicated insurrectionist. He is also an adjudicated sexual predator who is so desperate to distract from what seems to be the very issue that has gotten so many of even his own most ardent supporters to turn on him. You know, this week he had Erica Kirk at the White House, and I know my guest today has some thoughts about what should have been done this week when that was happening. But you know, one of Charlie Kirk's biggest calls to action was for the release of the Epstein files. Charlie Kirk wanted the Epstein files to be released. And as much as Mike Johnson may try to provide cover for Donald Trump, inevitably those Epstein files will be released when Adelaida Grijalva, the representative-elect who has yet to be sworn in, is sworn in, and that discharge petition is signed, and those Epstein files are released. This is a fading, desperate administration. There is no reason for us to stand down and be silent or afraid to exercise our rights in this moment. There is every reason for us to be more determined, committed, brave, outspoken, and demanding of our representatives that they uphold their oath than ever before. I mentioned a minute ago this ridiculous notion about peace that Donald Trump wants to claim he has solved 7 wars when war is still raging in Ukraine, one of the wars that he promised to end. Of course, Zelensky visited Ukraine, or Zelensky visited Donald Trump in the White House today. It's always, you know, a hard pill to swallow to see this war hero have to come and ask for help from this convicted felon. But of course, Donald Trump backtracked on promises that he made. We're going to talk with my guest today about that. And my guest today is somebody who, like me, used to be in the Trump orbit, used to fall for the ridiculous notion that anybody surrounding Donald Trump was for this country, was for the greatness of America, or for patriotism and freedom. He woke up. He paid a very, very heavy price. He is now watching this all as a Ukrainian-American, I think, in disgust and dismay, but also with an eye to what is going on the inside that very, very few people have. So with that, I'm going to bring in my friend, Lev Parnas. He's also the host of Lev Remembers on YouTube. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to his YouTube channel, Lev Remembers. Also, subscribe to the Jessica Denson YouTube channel if you haven't yet. We're almost over 200,000 subscribers. With your help, we will be there very soon. Welcome to the show, Lev Parnas.
Hey, Jessica, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm so sorry having technical issues. I don't know if you could see me good. I know something's going on with the camera today and stuff like that, but I hope it's fine. You can hear me or see me.
I see some lines, but I can hear you and see you. Hey, listen, Lev, I've been having my own technical issues today, which is why the overlay looks a little different. I've been dealing with websites and setting up an event and completely overwhelmed myself. So we can all give you some grace. No problem.
I appreciate it, but we have a lot of crazy stuff going on. I don't know. Where do you want to begin? You tell me. I mean,
well, I want to get to some of the more serious warnings from former intelligence officers and military generals that I was talking to you about earlier and that I mentioned in my open. But before we do that, let's just talk about this meeting that Trump had with Zelensky at the White House. He had previously signaled that he was, signaled, this man is a lunatic. I mean, like any word out of his mouth can be depended upon, Lev. But he'd previously signaled that he was going to possibly give Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. And Zelensky came to the White House today urging that the U.S. provide those Tomahawk missiles to have leverage for Putin to end the war. And now it seems like, of course, Donald Trump is backtracking on that.
I mean, I like the word leverage,
Leverage, yes.
Leverage, yeah. But listen, for those of you that don't know me, that's why I definitely recommend you follow Lev Remembers. It's a new YouTube channel that I set up specially because to get certain information out. I've been on Substack but the communities are small. We need to get out of the echo chamber, and that's why thank you, Jessica, for having me on here to be able to get some of this information out, because what the media is reporting, what you're listening to, is nowhere near what's happening. This has basically been a plan that I've been talking about and reporting on for already more than about 4 or 5 months now. Goes way back to when there was a secret delegation here from Russia that was sent in, and the plan was hatched that Trump was going to basically delay, and allow Zelensky to play the game of promising weapons, promising first it was, if you remember, it was Patriot missiles, then he was promising Tomahawks. But as I always say, watch what they do, not what they say, because there's a lot been promises made, but since Trump came into office, what they have done is stop the weapons coming to the Ukraine. They've pulled back weapons. Pete Hegseth 2 or 3 times has been reported literally stopped weapons from going to Ukraine. They talk about selling weapons to NATO. At the same time, no weapons has been told. What has been happening, though, is every day the escalation from the Russian bombardment on Ukrainian people, more people dying, more children dying, more people being families destroyed. And, Trump keeps talking, I'm going to sanction this. But at the same time, while he's saying sanction, what's really happening again, you have a Congresswoman, Paula Luna, and she is out there basically inviting over Putin's right-hand man, Kirill Dmitriev, to be able to talk about trade, folks. And Donald Trump yesterday also said in his conversation with Putin, they discussed a long conversation about trade. What could they possibly be trading, you might say? What do we have trade with Russia? Caviar? No, this is all about energy. This is all about power. This is all about Nord Stream 2. And unfortunately, I can't give you all the information and break it all down in a few minutes that we have here, because there's a lot else to talk about. But this was all pre-planned. The fact that he called Putin yesterday, I broke it 12 hours prior to, on my Substack, prior to the mass media talking about it, and Trump coming out and actually admitting that he had the conversation with Putin. The fact that they're meeting in Hungary, that's another sign. I mean, this is Viktor Orban country. This is somebody that is a Putin ally, and also happens to be the intermediary, and has been for a while, between Trump and Putin. And now you're seeing the real players that I've been talking about for months coming out of the woodworks, like Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, and Kirill Dmitriev, the real architects of what's playing behind the scenes. So, folks, it's not about peace. Trump has walked away from Ukraine. He's not going to give them weapons. Even if there was any slight chance of any type of weapons ever reaching Ukraine, it would never be anywhere near the amount that they would need to be able to actually do damage to Russia, because the plan between him and Russia is to normalize Russian relationships. That's what happened in Alaska. Part 2 is now happening in Hungary, to the extent that you actually have 2 things happening. First of all, you have, again, the same Congresswoman, Anna Paula Luna, is now also discipling in the halls of Congress and all over national media and social media, the JFK files. You might say, big deal, the JFK files have been released by Trump. Not those JFK files, not the files that our security or our intelligence has vetted.
But the Russian version of the JFK files, right?
Yeah, the actual KGB files.
KGB files.
The KGB files that have been in there. The Russian ambassador has given it to her, and now she is distributing it without vetting it with her. So now we're changing the story there. So that's why I say there's a lot more behind the scenes.
I guess the Amelia Earhart files weren't enough to distract. They needed to get the Russian JFK files, right?
It's a combination. See, it's like the distractions are all over the place, because they're trying to take away from what they're actually doing. Listen, at the end of the day, this is all, if you were to narrow it down, this all has to do with Project 2025. I mean, this is what this is all about. This is the implementation. Right now, you have actually Russell Vought. We have the shutdown of the government. The media. There's so much going on that the media is not even talking about. But he's literally cutting programs firing people that you haven't heard of yet. You don't even know the programs that were cut yet, but stuff that's going to hurt this country, hurt people, not the rich or the wealthy. It's going to hurt the regular person, and the fact that he's disregarding the judges and going into with the National Guard and ICE, it's one thing, but the fact that they're actually killing people, just think about it. We just
Yes.
not killed shot down another boat in the middle of the international waters, and no accountability, I mean, whatsoever. But even you have Rand Paul, a Republican
Republicans
defender,
speaking out against it. I know.
coming out and saying, I mean, just think about if you were to believe even what Rand Paul said, and I think the numbers are even bigger, but he said that even with all of our intelligence, that about 25% of the raids that we do on these drug boats are come out to be false, and there's no drugs on them. So even if you were to take those numbers, then you're talking about Trump and the United States killing 25% of, I mean, those 6 boats, or how many boats, how many people have, so 10, 12 innocent people that have been murdered, because if you even take those numbers. So I mean,
they're killing innocent people, just like they're doing in ICE detention camps. They're killing innocent people. I mean, just as Donald Trump's Department of Homeland Security and sickening national security, or not national security, senior advisor Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem and Pete Hegseth, they're all trying to characterize peaceful protesters as terrorists. Not a single ICE officer has been killed, but ICE officers have killed innocent people. That has happened. Innocent people have been sent to death camps. I was reading some statistics, Lev. I think it's 20 American citizens have been held in detention by ICE without having contact to lawyers. 130 American citizens have been arrested, including 12 elected officials, by ICE. These cases were dropped, of course, because there was no justification for them in the first place. But the terrorism is going on from them, not to them. And it's going on because this administration is up is down. They accuse us of being terrorists. They accuse peaceful protesters and so-called Antifa of being terrorists. They are terrorizing and literally, like you said, getting away with murder, committing murder of innocent people.
Well, think about it. Well, first of all, they're implementing a dictatorship, authoritarianship, and part of any dictatorship, it's not uniting a country, it's dividing a country. You're talking about instances of ICE. There, forget about the things that we hear about and in the facilities. What about the things we don't hear about?
Oh, yeah.
What about the things we don't see about? Just think about it. If we're watching every day, literally in the streets, where ICE is now ramming cars that they don't like, and then they're going out and arresting American citizens after they rammed their car. I mean, the things that were, today they arrested a police officer in Chicago, I heard. So it's getting to a point where, and that's what dictatorship is about. Changing history, rewriting history to make it look. That's why they're trying to get rid of, the insurrectionists, and make it look like it was a deep state that did it. That there was no insurrection on January 6th. That's why they're going after people that, like right now, I'm hearing Andrew Weissman and Comey and others, to change the history that there was no Russian interference in 2016, and the fact that now they're using silencing voices. The thing about the president of the United States sits there, and then when ABC reporter tries to ask a question, he turns around and says, "I'm not going to answer you. Look, after the way you treated the vice president and George Stephanopoulos, you're done. You're not getting it." Then you have Pete Hegseth going in and doing a pledge to all of the media that they have to report on only what's being told to them. So I mean, that's communist countries. I mean, that's as communist as you could get.
Straight up
Out of the playbook. North Korea, Russia, wherever you want to do. It doesn't come anywhere. And that's why the surprising part is, I understand that in the MAGA world is okay with it, because he's their leader, he's their messiah, he's their whatever cult, however you want to look at. But what I don't understand is, a lot of these congressmen and women and senators that have taken an oath, not all of them are, sold in the cold. Not all of them are scared because of their life. Like, I mean, like, don't, like, when they're seeing the Constitution being destroyed, ripped apart.
I know.
They, I mean, some of them are understanding. I mean, I've even had, like, on my show, Don Bacon, and you see Thomas Massey come out. You even see Marjorie Taylor Greene going up against Donald Trump, against the Epstein files, about the shutdown that's happening. I mean, but the fact that they're sending in the National Guard, the fact that we have ICE in the streets, the fact, I mean, how could anybody say that we're living in a better time than we did a year ago? I mean, just think
Well,
about
Lev, you're talking about these members of Congress, and this is my beef. I mean, it's not just with the Republicans, it is with the Democrats, because they completely cede their power. They act like, because they are a few votes short of the majority, literally a hair's, they're few less than 5 votes away from being in the majority. They act like that is stopping them from even having a conversation about the constitutional
absolutely.
answer to this problem, which is impeachment and removal. I wanted to just read from this article in The Guardian from the Steady State. I don't know if you heard about this, Lev, but the Steady State is a group of former intelligence officers, a network of more than 340 former officers of the CIA, the NSA, the State Department, and other national security agencies. And they conducted this assessment that says that the U.S. is on a trajectory toward authoritarian rule. It's a sobering new assessment that where they applied the same analytic methods used by U.S. intelligence agencies to assess the fragility of democracies abroad, but then turn that assessment inward for what they said is a first of its kind analysis of domestic democratic decline. They wrote, quote, it's the same tools we once used to assess foreign risks that now show unmistakable warning signs at home. They concluded with moderate to high confidence that the U.S. is moving toward what scholars call competitive authoritarianism, a system in which elections and courts continue to function. I'd put an asterisk there, but are, quote, systematically manipulated to consolidate executive power and weaken checks and balances. These trends are increasingly visible in the U.S. as part of a broader effort by Donald Trump in his second presidential term to, quote, ensure loyalty and ideological conformity across federal government. I mean, to think that this is the state of American democracy, an actual decline of American democracy in real time before our eyes, worsening every single day into authoritarianism, and that Democratic elected leaders who are publicly in their speeches and in their platitudes in opposition to this, but not actually mobilizing the means and talking about the means to stop it. I mean, what the hell is wrong with them, Lev? What are they waiting for?
I don't know. I've been saying it. I've been screaming on my platform on top of my lung. I mean, there's no leadership. First of all, we have to start off by getting, changing the leadership. Schumer, what's his name? Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, like you said, we're literally 4 or 5 votes, and the fact that if we could get Marjorie Taylor Greene, if we could get Thomas Massey, if we could get some of these people to align with us on, the Epstein stuff, that just proves that the shutdown, and other things, and the impeachment, like you said, there's so much things that we could learn, but there's no, nobody out there talking, because they need new blood. Just like is the same thing. If you take a look, there's no pundits, and there's no nobody from talking against Trump's message on the right. If you go to any of the television stations, if you watch CNN, if you watch any of the others, you see a lot of, right now, MAGA, a lot of Trump enablers, a lot of his voices all over the airwaves, debating, talking about, giving the other options, even though they're lying through their teeth, but they're getting the airtime. But if you go to the other side, where all our surrogates, we have no surrogates on the other side. Nobody on any of the televisions, because the Democrats don't accept surrogates unless you're like hardcore left Democrat. So unless I give allegiance, like for instance, myself, and pledge loyalty to be a far hardcore left Democrat, that means they don't accept me. And because of that, they don't want to use me. I'm giving you just an example, and I'm just one of many, as a surrogate that could go out there and give the real message. A person that the right would listen to, a person that the middle would listen to, that does listen to, that has a following. But they're so used to, the Democrats and the leadership are so used to being in their echo chamber, and so
You know what's
excited.
funny, Lev? I think that echo chamber both excludes like moderates and independents and
Oh
like
yeah,
former
absolutely.
former
Yeah,
insiders like you, and it also excludes their own most
their
committed
own.
progressive base. It
Yeah,
excludes both. It excludes like their two most powerful tools that they have, and they are so confined. Even the people, some of the people that are behind No Kings, even some of the people that are helping organize these protests, which Lev, I've been on the ground organizing these protests since January. I formed the removal coalition to make sure that they had a demand, to make sure that we weren't just showing up without a point, without some purpose to and some clear demand to the media and to our representatives. But there are people that are involved in the broader organizing from these more established organizations who will not touch impeachment, who will not get out of their very limited construct of how this whole thing has to play out, because they're so stuck in the old ways. Literally, I mean, you and I have had this conversation so many times, Lev, about how MAGA, I mean, literally just throws all this shit at the fan and burns down the entire system and says, rule book, what rule book? And the
there is no rule book.
Democrats still play by a fucking rule book. They still
Not
think,
not
oh,
not
we're
yeah.
just going to wait till the midterms when Donald Trump isn't going to
But
rig his way.
not only the victors, but they lie to them. They're living in a bubble. Like, I'll give you an example. Like, I watch this play out, and I talk about it, and I say, like, you're like, listen to what you're doing. So you get Bernie Sanders and you got AOC. They go
Right.
out there and they go into Phoenix, or they go out there, do some rally, and there's 35,000 people or 30,000 people that show up, and the media goes wild, and the people go wild, and the press releases are, wow, look at the energizing, the excitement, and the Democratic Party, look at that. It's a lie. I mean, it's those 35,000 people. Yeah, they're going to come out. Those are hardcore voters. Those are hardcore supporters. What's it called? But that you need more than 75, what was it, 79 million, 80 million people to get the message out. 80 million people are not voting for Bernie Sanders or AOC. Why are we lying to, why are we pretending that 80 million are people are not voting for Hakeem Jeffries? 80 million people are not going to vote for Gavin Newsom. Just so the fact that he's out there trolling Donald Trump, great. If the Democrats love it, they're watching it. He's not getting any votes. No moderates, no Republicans, no independents are coming over and say, "Oh, we're going to vote for that Gavin Newsom because he's got a good troll game." See, you can't try to beat somebody at their own game. You have to be good at what you are. You have to be real. You can't try to beat Donald Trump. Well, so they think, oh, I'm going to become a Donald Trump. I'm going to start trolling him. I'm going to be doing this, and that's what the people want. No, that's what you got. That's why I'm trying to say they have no clue what they're doing, and the other stupidity is their think tanks, the people that they surround themselves with, all of these democratic strategists, all of these, what's it called? How could you even hide? It's with all due respect. It's, again, just because they went to Yale, Harvard, or have some beautiful degree, what gives them the knowledge of knowing any of these people like Donald Trump or Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or any of the Pete Hegseth? No, you don't. They have no idea. And just the fact that somebody served for some president, for Bill Clinton or 25 years ago, or for Bush, or what's it called, now that gives them the authority and to tell you what Donald Trump is going to do, how people in his cabinet are acting. That is why we are where we are. Because, like you said, Jessica, perfectly said, they're stuck in their old ways, playing by some old playbook. It's like watching the 1969 New York Jets play against, like right now, any team out there, the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens. It's a different game. Back then, it's like basketball. If you take a look at in the 1960s how they played basketball, and you take a look at how I would take a middle school team right now playing basketball against the pros back then. You should have seen them. They dribble, they pass. They pass, they dribble, they shoot. Now you take a look at it's like it's great. You have to change the
You
game.
have to adapt.
You
Yeah,
have to
absolutely.
adapt, and no,
Yeah.
and that's what And the other thing is you have to certain play the by understand that there's playing by the rules, and then there's a thing called uh respecting the rules. And see, this is where the Democrats have a big problem also. So we have all of these rules on that Donald Trump is exploiting right now. Like, that's why a lot of these people are now going to go to prison. A lot of these people are going to get in trouble because there's technicalities, and then there's really breaking the rules. So we have all these rules on the as American citizens that you don't even know, that are unfair to us and shouldn't even be there in Constitution. Like when it comes to like IRS or wire fraud or bank fraud, that you might not even know. You might be breaking rules every single day, that you could go to jail for at least 5 years, and you wouldn't think of it, but it could be used against any single one of us at any single time. Like, I'll give you an example. Credit card application, go getting a car. They ask you, what did you make last year? You round it off. I made 100,000. You made 80. You lied. That's 5 years, because you don't realize the fine print when you sign that little
As
that
you're
it's on the
saying this, Lev, this is a man who literally was convicted on 34 counts for making false statements.
correct. This is
And
what I'm
and
saying
and
to you.
a man who had a, what, $400 million civil fraud verdict against
Yeah,
him for lying to the state of New York. I mean, these are the people that you're saying are then going to strain at gnats and swallow camels to find something to go after their political
absolutely.
enemies.
I
Yeah.
mean, Jessica, you have to think about the way our justice system was set up to begin with. The fact that we talk about and joke around and people, and it's like a normal thing that you could indict a ham sandwich. That is so messed up. Like, I can't even, just if you just the thought of it, think about it. We as American citizens live under the fear that if anybody, any police officer, any prosecutor, any judge, if for whatever reason has a bad day, doesn't like the color of your skin, doesn't like what you say, how you smell, what's it called, could get you indicted, because it's just that easy. Because that should be the opposite. That should be the most hardest thing, because once you get indicted, your life changes. Once you get indicted, the financial burden, the criminal burden, the burden of dealing with an entity that has unlimited funds on you, and 97% winning conviction rate, looking at some, I mean, just think about it. In our country, you can't even imagine how you think we live in the most freest country, but our criminal system, we have more people in prison for the stupidest crimes than most of the world. I mean, we have people serving 20 years, 10 years, 15 years. That's not rehabilitation. And then you have, on the opposite, murderers, rapists doing 5 years, 8 years. I'm saying to you,
Yeah.
out, what's it called? Our system is so messed up, and Donald Trump knows it.
Yeah,
So
and so
now,
he's going to exploit that. He's going to exploit that
exactly,
to try to
exactly,
make it
exactly.
to try to make it even further extreme, and to the extreme of a country like Russia, where rule of law is just a joke,
Yeah.
where the courts and the so-called justice system in a country like Russia are pay to play. It goes back to where we started our conversation, where you said the whole thing about Russia and Ukraine is about Nord Stream 2. I happen to think the whole quote unquote ceasefire deal in Gaza is all about money and who's getting what out of whatever kind of investments are going to be made in that area. You have Donald Trump, who his whole life has been an easy mark and an easy target, because he is so vulnerable. He had so many bankruptcies. He's been a weak person his whole life. And he's been such an easy mark for these people with financial, just craven base financial interests to use him to do their bidding and to turn this country into a lawless authoritarian oligarchy where that imbalanced justice system that you're talking about that we already have just becomes totally exploited, and the concept of the rule of law no longer has any meaning because it's only about what you can pay for and what kind of or how silent and loyal you're willing to be to have your freedom or just basically live.
Oh, well, let me tell you, Jessica, this is just the beginning. There's so much stuff, breaking news that I've been speaking to my sources the past several days. I'm just confirming some stuff right now, and that's why I recommend everybody make sure you set your notifications on and set your files on, because we have a lot more breaking news that's going to come out having to do with Russia, the Ukraine situation, Trump, Venezuela, and especially what he's planning on doing when it comes to our 2026 elections. And there's some things that also are behind the scenes that are being put into motion by certain players like Stephen Miller, Russell Vought. You also now add Susie Wiles to the mix, who is basically his handler, the chief of staff. So
And he needs handlers right now because
yeah.
his mental state, it's been in decline for years, but it's very, very evident right now. If anything remotely close to the foibles and gaffes that Donald Trump is having was happening when Biden was president, it's not even close to the stuttering of Joe Biden, what we see on a regular basis from Donald Trump. This man he's still conniving. Like I tell people, don't think this guy's stupid. He's still calculating all the time, but he is genuinely losing his mind.
100%. You could tell with every Oval press conference, with every time he opens his mouth. He keeps forgetting how many wars he's stopped. It goes from 6, 7 to 27. Then he forgets who was fighting with who for how many years. He keeps, and the other thing is, one of his tactics, and also from being on the inside, is he keeps repeating the same thing over and over. First of all, it's easy to remember, even if it's a lie. It doesn't matter if he keeps repeating it, but even that he is starting to forget, starting to confuse, and starting to do it. These are not gaffes, as they try to say it. But the crazy part with Donald Trump, why he's able to get away with it, is because it's no more just Donald Trump. And that's why people need to understand it's turned into a system. What the voters have been enabled to be unleashed in is Project 2025. This is much bigger than Donald Trump now. Donald Trump is just the face. Donald Trump is a showman. Donald Trump wakes up, gets dressed. They give him, this is what's going on. He picks what he wants, what topic he wants to deal with of the day, what he's excited about. What if it could be golf, it could be soccer, it could be Olympics, it could be Middle East, Israel, whatever the topic, whatever he's interested, and then the rest is set up for it, because everything you're seeing play out inside the United States and the policies that are being played on the world is not being set up by Donald Trump. They're being negotiated by people like, Jared Kushner, Witkoff, Kirill Dmitriev, Stephen Miller, Susie Wiles, not even Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio has nothing to do with anything. Pete Hegseth has nothing to do.
That's why he looks like his soul has left his body and his brain has left his body. There's no life behind his eyes.
He basically sold his soul and hoping that he's gonna he'll come out of his shell when he's been promised, what I'm hearing behind the scenes, that Trump will endorse him over Vance for 2028. First of all,
hold your breath.
Well, first of all, Trump's not leaving 2028.
He's not leaving.
That's why.
Speaking of not leaving, Lev, you said a minute ago the voters unleashed Project 2025. Now, the viewers of Lights On know that I don't believe for a second that Donald Trump legitimately won in 2024. And one thing that Eastern European countries like your home country of Ukraine knows well is that, anyone in the Soviet bloc knows how well Russia tries to interfere with elections. And there was still Russian interference in the 2024 election. There were bomb threats. There was voter suppression. There was ridiculous amounts of irregularities in the voting patterns coming out of that election in swing states that just do not make sense organically. I don't believe for a second that he won in 2024. And you told me a minute ago, you said you have news coming out about some interference with 2026. Can you give us a tease about that?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, let me talk about, I agree with you. When it comes to 2024, there was a lot more irregularities. I'm sorry, I mean, you can't pronounce it. And only, and that's with history, with time, we're going to get to the bottom of it. I think Elon Musk was involved in a lot of things. I think they used certain technology, AI, because I remember even going back in 2028, Brad Pascal, even back then, were trying to use whatever they could and however they could to manipulate the system, the votes to be able to get. So I agree with you. The problem with the difference is I don't think, in my opinion, right now, it could be proven unless there's some, whistleblower comes out or something, or Musk himself, or somehow you hear whoever might have been or could have been or wherever it comes out does it. I think we won't know till later on. To discuss it, to talk about right now, not having the power, it gives them another opportunity to go after us and be able to knock us down, divide us. And that's the one thing I say, Jessica, that's the one thing I think the problem with all the whole Democratic Party is that we have too many messages. There's too many policies. And I agree with you that, if it's the impeachment is the message, then we should all get around that and go for it. If it's to invoke the 25th Amendment, it's that. If it's, I'm saying,
25th Amendment would never happen because it requires
right. But I'm just giving example. I'm saying to you, the problem is and that's in what you start off, and that's what you said is very difficult. Like, look, you're putting together and I know how hard you're working. I know how behind the scenes, the frustration that you're dealing with to pull off this, event, to make sure that we show up in force and everything. And you would think, common sense wise, that your phones would be going through the nonstop, and people would be begging you to help, support, because the fact that you're already risking everything by being an organizer when Trump is threatening to go after organizers and calling you Antifa. So you're going out there, putting your life on the line, trying to put together something to save democracy. And you know what? I guarantee you that you're begging for people to show up, your coordinations. And I'm not going to call people out. I'm not going to call organizations out, but I know they're not knocking at your door. Same thing here with me. Same thing here with others. I speak to all of these ex-Trumpers, ex-people in the administration, and they say the same thing. You know what? We call ourselves, forget about them calling us, we call ourselves and are willing to risk it all. We go on social media, we go on Substack, we go on YouTube, just like myself, to be able to tell the truth. We risk our freedom, we risk getting persecuted to be able to tell people. And the problem with nobody on the Democratic side is accepting it. You see the same thing every day. They got their own different messages. Yeah, just like a simple fact. Just think about it. How are you not on the steps of the White House every single day?
I know.
With the press conference and how are you not having?
Yeah, you talked about. I will go back to what I started with in the open, where you talked about what Democrats should have done when they had Erica Kirk at the White House.
Oh my God! Like, how do you miss such a? I mean, it's like child's play. But again, it's child's play to people like us because we have common sense and we're playing the new playbook. Plus, I've lived inside their world. I've helped build MAGA, so I know how they think. So it's easier. These guys. So think about it. You have Donald Trump traveling halfway around the world to make it, and they announced that there's going to be a huge party. They're going to give Charlie Kirk the Medal of Freedom. They're going to they even put a cross, first time ever, in the back of it, and all this thing. It's a party, it's a celebration, we're getting together, I'm going to go on there. Free speech, again, free speech while he has ICE and a National Guard arresting people that are trying to use their free speech to protest or to talk. But this is what Charlie Kirk stood for, right? How are the Democrats and everybody not putting together a whole unified situation with the survivors of Epstein standing on the front line and saying, on behalf of Charlie Kirk, his last wishes, his last words were that said to you, Mr. President, release the Epstein files. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, do you understand the press? Do you understand what you would do to him? He wouldn't know what. I mean, that's real
You their
trolling.
playbook, yeah. Let's
That's
really
troll.
honor Charlie Kirk and honor
But,
his dying wishes. Absolutely.
right, but that's trolling with the message. That's
Yes.
where you now get it out there, where the whole media covers it. All social media covers it, good or bad. Now you're having hundreds of millions of people see that you're, that you're in instead, what do? You hide, you disappear, and that whole day it's a message again about, how many more groups they've opened up in college. Quadruple, 5 6 times what they had. They've raised the amounts of money they're raising, I can't even tell you. And the crazy part is, if I was to put a GoFundMe, right, say, guys, you know what, I want to raise $20,000-$30,000 to go to, let's say, a red state, to be able to speak truth to power, to be able to get some votes, and over there I would be called a grifter. I would be called, like, if you want to go do it, why don't you go do it? Nobody would care about my safety. Nobody would care about how to feed the kids or what to do. They would say, go do it. That's what's expected. Yes. On the other side, absolutely not. They support you. When one of their guys, Nick Soros, went to Portland, Oregon, and got into a tussle in front of the ICE facility and got picked up, you know what happened? The next day, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Homeland Security Kristi Noem, President Trump himself got involved. That's the difference. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So there's nobody. Where is our forces and everything? So I don't want to keep bashing that side, but I say it because I want you to understand that it's up to us, the people. It's up to our voices. It's up to us. We can't sit no longer and sit there and say we have people in Congress and Senate, they're going to protect us. We can't sit there and say we have guardrails. We can't sit there. That's all gone. We are right now living in a full-fledged dictatorship. You might like it, you might not like it, but that's what it is. You know what a dictatorship is, folks? Is when the dictator, whatever he says goes. And tell me if you don't see that with Donald Trump. He gets up there and says, hey,
or
Pam,
whatever he says is true, or whatever, just complete lies are the truth. I mean, this is the complete subversion of just basic facts and truth.
I mean, they got rid of every news agencies in the Pentagon.
Yeah. But what you're saying, Lev, I love what you're saying, because you kind of started off talking about how, maybe these organizations aren't embracing us or platforming us or whatever. And frankly, like I don't want to say I don't care, because they should, and I'm never going to let them off the hook, but we don't need them. Like, we, the people, this is what the people need to understand. And I hope Lev and I are both individually and collectively an example of this. You have enormous power on your own. And then when we come together, the power that we have, I mean, there's nothing that can be done about it. Like, start acknowledging it. That's what we're doing with 1122. We have massive influencers, musicians, pastors, all kinds of people with their own massive platforms and reaches that are going to be promoting 1122 and bringing the masses to Washington, D.C. to peacefully shut down this city for the first time since this administration started. We need to do this, Lev. The world has been watching us like, what the hell are the American people doing? How are they letting this happen on their watch? Why are they not demanding that this man be removed from office and incarcerated, for God's sakes? And that is what we are doing. We're not asking anybody for permission. We are just doing it. We're not waiting. Now is the time.
Absolutely,
this is, I want you, if you haven't yet, please go to removalcoalition.org/remove the regime. You can also just go to removetheregime.org, where the website's in being built, but you can print out the flyer from there. Please, if you're going anywhere on 1018, spread the word about 1122. 1122 is not a 50-state action. It's the next major action after No Kings, but it is not a 50-state action. We need you in Washington, D.C., please, please, please take this flyer, print it out, distribute it on 1018, spread the word, make your plans to join us. We're trying to do something to change this picture. We can change this picture if we start acknowledging our own power and just simply demanding action now. We have the power to do this.
100%. What Jessica's saying is 100%. The power is with us. It's the voices, the people. No longer can you sit by, like I said, and think of that, there's somebody there that's going to do it for you, because that's not going to happen. The people that we've entrusted to look after our security, our safety, our constitution have let us down. Now it's time for us to take it in our hands and peacefully go out there, because the one thing we still have that he can't stop us is numbers. There's more of us than them there, and that's the whole thing. And we have to just get louder than them, because their minority right now is just louder than our majority, because our majority is split, our majority is confused, our majority is hurt, our majority doesn't understand what happened, our majority wants policies today. They are not used to waiting. They want changes done, and that's why they have to realize it's a different ball. It's not your father's Oldsmobile anymore. It's a different game. You can't pass the ball 3 times before you shoot it. You could drive, you could dunk. There's different ways of doing. You can't play just defense. There's offense now, and that's the most important thing. The Democrats need to learn how to go on offense. They need to take away the news cycle. I mean, there's so many different things that could be done, and they have so much ammunition. But the fact that we have to be doing it on different shows, the fact that we have to be sitting here and promoting ourselves and doing these YouTube channels and everything else to be able to get the message out. It's crazy.
Exhausting. It's
exhausting. It's crazy. I mean, because it's not
shameless self promotion is no fun, I will say.
It's crazy. I would never, if somebody would have told me that this is what I would be doing 5 years ago or something here. But you know what, this is the only way, the only front.
Can you imagine though, this is, I know you're in the same boat with me and on this, Lev, can you imagine your soul, like can you imagine your conscience if you were not doing this now, if you had not come clean and we're not fighting for our country?
I couldn't even imagine, Well, you know what? Let me say, I do imagine. I sit back sometimes and think, what if? Because it's so funny, because it's so crazy. I mean, just think about right now. Like today, he just pardoned George Santos. Literally gave him George Santos got convicted for 8 years.
One con man partnering in another. Makes
sense. 30 days, and now he's out. So just think about that. It's like, it's crazy to think about that. How the Republic, how they are rewarding, which is wrong, and again, it's not. But then you take a look at how bad the Democrats are. Just think about what Joe Biden did. How how he allowed this whole auto pen bullshit, how he allowed the pre-pardon, the people that were loyal, and he should have, people that are on the front lines like us out there, he didn't pardon people like that congressmen and senators that did their job. He gave him preemptive pardons. I mean, pardon his family on the way out. You know what I'm saying to you? Listen, it's again, like I said, they don't know how to fight this fight. They don't know how to be in the battlefield. It's maybe a great example of it is they're still boxing while these guys are in the UFC cage match. You know what I'm saying to you? They're trying to play by some rules where these guys no feet, just boxing. They're wearing gloves. These guys are raw knuckle kicking them, punching them, biting them, ripping them, and then they're laying there bleeding and saying, "Why? I don't understand. I don't understand." Well, it's time to wake up. Take the gloves off.
Wake up.
You know what I'm saying? To wake up. Take the gloves off. Join the people. Stand in front of us. Be some leaders. Get out there. The just because the shutdown is happening doesn't give you permission. You don't think we know you guys are all on vacation, traveling? Not everyone. There's some of you see Jamie Raskin, poor guy, is out there every day. You could tell by he barely sleeps. He's out there constantly
Well,
trying.
the poor guy, Jamie Raskin, who was supposed to be the leading constitutional scholar in Congress, got the entire Democratic caucus to stand down on Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. I still haven't forgiven him for that. And he also is the leading force that shut down a forced vote on impeachment, the first attempted forced vote by Congressman Sri Tanadar, and has been lobbying the entire Democratic caucus. Everybody looks to Jamie Raskin because he's the chair of the Judiciary Committee. He is the one who has been steering them away from impeachment. So if the guy wants to get some real rest, why don't you just like maybe cancel a few of the events where you're talking about nice things and just actually do something nice and get behind impeachment and stop telling your Democratic colleagues that it's not time yet, because that's a bunch of bullshit. And we have either have a constitution or we don't, Jamie Raskin.
No, I don't just no, I understand where you're coming from on that subject, but again, just in all fairness, just to him, because I know a lot of things on the inside that there, you know, he could be standing there screaming till he turned pale white. We don't have the votes for impeachment, and that's the problem. And it's not Jamie Raskin, and there's other problems in there, but that are not uniting the front and are not talking to him. And believe me when I tell you, guys like Jamie Raskin and some other names in there would be the first ones, if there was an opportunity to impeach Trump, would be chomping at the bit. But like I said, there's some strategical fights that need to take place, and that's
but
where,
like I said, I just want to correct the thing about there's not the votes, because like you said, Republicans like freaking Marjorie Taylor Greene is changing sides on things. You know, you have people like Thomas Massie. If the Democrats were united, like we've been talking about this whole time, on this one issue, if they collectively decided, yes, Donald Trump is sabotaging American democracy, and we're going to tell the American people what the constitutional solution is and that we're all for it. First of all, they would be heralded heroes. They wouldn't be hated. I mean, the notion that the opposition right now is as unpopular as they are is ridiculous when Donald Trump is as unpopular as he is. But it's because they don't have their friggin' shit together, and the American people want to see fighters. And if they came together, that whole argument of we don't have the votes could change, because the whole paradigm in this country could change. I know, like, coming up on the end of the show, but this is like the most important point. If they hijack the narrative on this about the actual solution to this problem, instead of being endlessly giving the diagnosis of it, the people would rally around that. This whole picture could change right now. And you telling me we couldn't get 4 Republican votes?
yeah, I'm telling you, you can't. You know why? You know why? You know why you can't? I'm going to tell you. I agree with you. We should be able. Well, we can't, because we have a thing called the Epstein files, and they can't get together. They can't even.
This is what's going to happen.
You see, no, but see, you can't look at you. They're going to look how hard. Look what we're going through with something like the Epstein files. So what I'm saying to you is all these other things. They listen. They can't even think about how they push through the big ugly bill. How Trump called and threatened some of these congressmen that were against it, and then they flipped and turned for it. What I'm saying to you is, you are right. Again, there should be there, because if we had some leadership, if there was some leadership, then excuse me, the conversation we would be talking right now is impeachment. But the problem is, because we don't have that leadership, what I'm saying to you is that we need to find something to rally around, and we have. And a couple of things we do have to rally around is the Epstein files, is the Project 2025.
And Lev, I really see the Epstein files, which is going to break. I mean, that dam is going to break. And I heard, I think it was Swalwell last night saying, when they vote, the expectation they're getting from what they hear about what's happening in Republican corners is, when they vote to release these Epstein files, which is going to happen when Adelita Grajova gets signed in or gets sworn in, it's not just going to be 1 or 2 Republicans. It's going to be a lot of them. It's going to be a lot of them, because they cannot answer to their base coming back to them and saying, why did you vote against releasing? So there's going to be a whole bunch of them. And I really see that as the precursor to the impeachment totally changing the conversation about impeachment. And by the way, just in time for 11/22.
Absolutely. But I'll tell you one thing, I try to speak to Republicans to get a bipartisan because, Swalwell, great. But again, it's an echo chamber. And, his opinion, we all have opinions. But, I did have Congressman Bacon on my show, and I had Massey and I had Rokana and all. And when we were talking, and the funny part is Bacon didn't vote for the vote to go to the House. But you know what he did say? Just like you said, he said to me, he said, Lev, on my show, he goes that even though you had a lot of people that were scared of Trump to vote for to go on the floor, once it gets to the floor, you're going to see a lot of he feels over 100 Republicans are going to come and vote. It's going to be a massacre because of they're not going to want to be associated with the no vote for the midterm. With the cover up and for the midterms coming up. So absolutely. And that's why, again, I say to you, we're on the same page. We don't need to. There's so many different issues if we could sit here, we could talk from our insurance to women's rights, to constitutional rights, to, all the laws he's breaking, the money he's making, the cryptocurrency, everything that's happening. You could go back and forth on all of it. But what I'm saying to you is for us to be able to change those things, debate those things, put the different policies, get our country back. We all have to unite on one message to get them out of there. And that message should be with the Epstein files. And 11/22, we should, and my recommendation to you is maybe get some of these survivors, some of these victims to join you, Jessica. And if I can, I will also to join you and be there. And part of the removal should be on behalf of, because of the cover up of the Epstein. Of the Epstein files. So absolutely,
Lev. It's always so fun to have you on with me. I'm looking forward to coming on with you again soon on your Substack with you and Malcolm.
Absolutely. No, I'm going to bring you on my YouTube channel because we need to.
We need to give Lev, share some of the love with Lev on YouTube. He has one of the most successful shows on Substack, but he wants to share that audience with YouTube. So definitely go over to Lev's YouTube at Lev Remembers, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's going to be, I know, doing a lot more content on YouTube as well. So at Lev Remembers on YouTube.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, everybody, for watching today. And absolutely, Jessica, we got a lot of stuff still coming. Remember, we're not even a year into his administration. That's why, I can't even imagine another 3. So that's why we have to do what we can in the next nine months, literally, and maybe sooner, if possible, to be able to get our democracy back. The only way we're going to do it is to get our voices loud, communicate, stay together, unite, and join forces. And like Jessica said, we need all your support. We need hands on deck. We need you to be our megaphone, an extension of our voices, because we do this. Believe me, it's not fun. And to sit here, I got like 25 kids that I have to go look after. So thank you for having me, Jessica. Have a great night.
My pleasure. Send my love to Svetlana. Take care.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye. Yeah, it took a minute to get warmed up today because, guys, I have been knee deep in both preparing for tomorrow for 10/18 with 5051 SoCal and getting just the website up and different things for Remove the Regime. If you haven't already, please go to removalcoalition.org/remove the regime. We need your financial support. I'm going to be really transparent, like we've done in the past for these mass protests. They are not cheap. It takes a lot of money to produce these things, to get all of the infrastructure, the porta potties, the stages, the sound, the security, all of that costs a lot of money. If you can help us produce Remove the Regime, please do at removalcoalition.org/remove the regime. Most importantly, please join us on 11/22 and spread the word tomorrow on 10/18. Print out these flyers, hand them out everywhere. Let them know the next major action is not a 50-state action. It is a descending peacefully on Washington, D.C. We need to shut down our nation's capital and show the world what we are made of. So please join us and help us, support us in any way you can with 1122. Lastly, as I mentioned last week, I am fighting still the Trump campaign to hold them accountable, never letting go of this fight, have a new legal team for an appeal that was wrongfully dismissed. I am demanding accountability for retaliation and an assault on my First Amendment rights. You can support that. And I need your support at thejessicadenson.com/donate. I mentioned last week, we have one generous donor who is offered to match a $5,000 donation. We're looking for a matching donation of $5,000. If you would like to do that, please make a small donation at thejessicadenson.com/donate and put in the notes that you would like to be a matching donor. Thank you all so much for your generosity. Thank you for your membership on this channel. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and get us over the 200,000 mark. As always, be strong, be brave. Do not let their threats intimidate you. They are weak and they are desperate, and that's why they are trying to scare you. We do not have to be afraid. We hold the power here. Have a wonderful weekend and let your light shine.